Hello, StokerCon 2021. My name is TJ Tranchell. I shall be reading to you today from my February 2021 release, Tell No Man, currently available on Amazon through my website and by ordering through your wonderful local independent bookstore. This is a story about Mormon exorcists. I grew up in Utah. My family is all LDS, and so this story has been one that I've been wanting to tell for quite a long time. So I am happy that you are here with me now. And so here we go. Tell No Man. Like all the days Maddie had known before, the sun rose, and the Lord had not yet come again. She thanked Heavenly Father and Jesus for Brandon's ability to pour himself and his little brother cereal, even though she wished they'd picked something else besides the marshmallow-loaded sugary cereals. At least they didn't mind the ones in the bag. She could hear them downstairs, gobbling their breakfast and watching TV. She could leave them like that all day and they would be fine. Hiding in her bedroom, avoiding the tasks ahead of her over the next few days, these were not the worst ideas she'd ever had. Letting Everett Slocum kiss her once had been the worst idea she'd had recently. He wanted another kiss the next day, and more than that soon enough. Luck, or God's grace as she would be reminded during her meeting with the bishop, was on her side. Maddie Smith was not the first woman Everett had set his sights on. Instead of getting fired or flat out suing Everett and the whole cherry-picking company, Maddie took the swing shift and the $1.50 raise that came with it. Sometimes, Maddie thought, you have to take the easy way out, even if it's not the best way. Tears threatened to consume her again. Her husband, her ex-husband, the jerk, said something similar during their divorce. Easier for him to ride away on his motorcycle than try to make their marriage work. Easier to party with 20-somethings than to play catch with his own sons. Jackass. Maddie didn't need to cry now. What she needed was a shower and some of that cereal. She'd take the sugar rush now and hope it lasted her until lunch, when she would allow herself a Diet Coke. She'd long ago accepted caffeine into her life, but still could not come to grips with the smell of coffee. Yes, a Diet Coke and a nice tomato sandwich after her morning appointment. But first, a shower. The 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house on 600 North sat clustered by oak trees on a corner like every other corner in Black Hawk. Summer toys lay scattered across the lawns of the neighboring homes. The smell of tar from the annual chip sealing wafted on the air, reminding her of her childhood when she and her cousins told each other it was so hot the road was melting. A black and orange for rent sign had been stapled to the nearest tree on the street. The orange letters were going white, faded from not just this summer, but the last two, as far as Maddie knew. The phone number on the sign still worked, and the rental price, with sewer, water, and garbage paid, cut her housing expenses almost in half. No one's been murdered in there or anything like that, the property manager had told her on the phone. Legally, I have to tell you if someone had. I just can't keep anyone in the house for very long. The owner got sick of trying to sell it. No one has even called about it since last summer. Being desperate, Maddie agreed to look at it. She'd picked up a set of keys from the property manager before driving to the house. She hadn't had to look at a house or apartment in so long that Maddie didn't think of it when the manager told her she could take the keys as long as she brought them back to the office before it closed at 4:30. Maddie stood on the porch, the white paint peeling off the concrete columns and wooden overhang, and felt nothing. She had expected another burst of tears at the thought of losing her house, her home, but didn't feel the sadness that had plagued her daily since her divorce. She did not feel the joy that some experience when seeing their dream homes for the first time. She did not feel the trepidation that seemed to ooze off the property manager. Another wave of nothingness ran over Maddie as she turned the key and pushed open the front door. The weight of emptiness rushed across her shoulders and through her legs. A deep interior darkness swelled inside her as her feet crossed the threshold. A breeze from outside fluttered a curtain in the front room, and the darkness broke for a moment. Maddie's feet carried her deeper into the house, small pockets of sunlight showing her the way to lamps the property manager said would work. Once the lights had been turned on, the house no longer seemed full of darkness to Maddie. Instead, it was full of dust. Strips of ancient wallpaper mixed with plaster fallen from the walls and ceiling littered the floor. She stepped on a piece of lathing, splintering the piece of wood, and silence surrounding her. Wings fluttered somewhere above her, and small clawed feet skittered around her, although she saw neither bird nor rat. The grit of the room, plaster, disintegrating wood, dander of countless animals, tickled her face with unpleasant, invisible fingers. Maddie stepped into the touch and threw it deeper into the house. To the right, a study. Ahead, the kitchen. Between those rooms and down a short hall were stairs to a second level. Through the kitchen were stairs to a cellar. Maddie took the stairs up, each creaking away the years since they'd last been trod upon. With each step up, the beating of wings lessened. Maddie hoped any birds there would be gone before she summited the steps. The landing loomed above her, stretching toward the apex of the house. She stopped 2 steps from the top and stared down a hallway. 2 doors on the right, 1 on the left. A third door at the end of the hall stood slightly ajar, but still. Maddie took another step toward the second floor, and the door at the end of the hallway opened another inch. She mounted the final step, and the door widened again. By the time Maddie was on the same level and in the hallway, the door gaped half open, inviting Maddie to come on in, look around, stay for a while. The second floor has a master bedroom, 2 smaller bedrooms, and a linen closet, the real estate agent had said. The master is truly remarkable. Maddie reached out and barely tapped the door to make it open fully. She expected sunlight to hit her face. There was light, but it was not the sun. A deep red assaulted her, diffused but potent. Unlike the bareness of the rest of the house, thick carpet blanketed the floor of the master bedroom. Tapestry-like curtains hung over the windows, preventing any illumination from outside. Maddie reached for a light switch, but pulled her hand back upon touching the wall. She stepped deeper into the room and turned toward the wall. Stretching her hand out again, Maddie caressed the velvety wallpaper of the room. A crimson glow pulsed off the walls, providing the strange light Maddie saw upon entering the room. How wallpaper could glow was beyond Maddie. Touching it, however, gave her a thrill and a sense of revulsion, like biting into a peach just beyond ripe. The fuzziness tickled her fingertips, but if she lingered in one spot too long, the wall began to feel alive. It writhed beneath her fingers, and she would move to another spot, dragging her hand along the wall. Thrilling and disgusting, reviling and arousing. She continued around the room, not yet wanting to disengage from the sensations of the wall. At the farthest point from the door, Maddie placed both hands on the wall. The fine hairs on her arms and at the back of her neck stood up. The hairless undersides of her arms felt as though a million tiny feet, all wearing cotton-soft baby booties, were walking on her shoulders. Once there, the feeling solidified, became one hand on each shoulder, pushing out the tension that had built inside her. The sensation spread, those feet tracing down her body, over her breasts, across her abdomen, along her hips, and, between her legs. But as the rest of her body felt the invisible assault, Maddie noticed the fillings of hands remained on her shoulders. As she took note of the hands, trying to ignore the filthy and pleasant tingling at her most private place, they tightened. The grip of whatever held her strengthened. When the hands started to move to her neck, Maddie pushed herself away from the wall. "Lord," she said. "Lord, what is in here?" The tingling, the pressure, the grip lifted away from her immediately. She stared at the wall, the dust in front of her eyes making it appear that the wall wrinkled. She watched something beneath the wallpaper slither to the floorboards and stifled a scream. In her next breath, she sucked in the dust and began to choke. Rushing out of the room and into the kitchen, she prayed that the water would be on. Maddie wiped tears and a silty layer of air from her face with one hand as the other lifted the handle on the ancient faucet. The water did come on, and Maddie filled her cupped palm with it. Her eyes flew open at the taste of water. Ash! And when she saw the blood-red pool of liquid in her hands, the scream she held back moments before escaped. She felt the atmosphere around her pulling at her breath as if it lived on the sound of her terror. She gagged and spat, trying to get the burnt flavor off her tongue. Slowly, her breathing returned to normal. Her vision cleared, and she knew she had to leave this house. There would be other rentals. She'd find somewhere for her children to live. As she gathered herself, the creaking of an open door came to her ears. She looked around and saw that the door to the cellar basement had opened. A soft yellow light glowed from beyond the door, much more inviting than the scarlet tones of the room upstairs. She promised the real estate agent she would give this house a fair shake. And unlike her husband, she kept her promises. The top stair did not make a sound, but held her wobbling legs like a sturdy foundation. Each step down gave her more confidence, until she touched the dirt floor, and the door above her slammed shut. Thank you so much for listening today. If you'd like to hear more from me, you can pop over to the Anne Radcliffe Conference section and listen to me speak about the aspects of the great American horror novel. Again, I am TJ Tranchell. You can find Tell No Man and all of my works at tjtranchell.net. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of StokerCon.